Part 3 of Keep It Going, other parts down below. Few months later, I am finally at peace. Almost. We had a temp hearing, are now mediating, and the end is near. Basically, what happened is that my wife went on vacation to her home country, met a man, knew him for a week, came back and requested divorce. He sent her money for an apartment, lawyer, and furniture. About $25,000. We have a 3-year-old son. She drops my son off on my days and wants to hug me, smiles at me, acts like nothing ever happened. She never admitted to cheating, never apologized, nothing at all. If I am more or less short, this offends her. She cries, gets mad, etc. Has anyone else went through this? A wife who cheated, leaves, then acts like nothing happened. Not even an explanation or apology. She has probably convinced herself she has done nothing at all wrong. I am doing pretty well, but it is annoying seeing her 3 or 4 times a week to exchange our son, and she acts like we are just lifelong friends. Wanting to hug me, smiling, make small talk, etc., texting me her feelings about unrelated issues, etc. As an example, she wanted to come into my house yesterday, and when I said no, she got mad, zoomed away in her car. Not sure how she ever expects to be friends if she cannot even show 1 ounce of remorse for her actions. I just find it odd. She spent months lying about me to everyone. I was some mean, abusive husband. She cheated on me, lied about everything at the temporary hearing, and then acts like nothing happened, and actually gets angry if I am short with her or refuse to hug her. For a long time, she was glued to Facebook, which led to arguments. Then she traveled, which led to more arguments. Then she met this guy, which led to her wanting a divorce. She is almost 40 and was on Facebook 24/7. Things were neglected at home. She was in her own world. It's just odd that now she is being so nice. Not sure what she wants. When I was asking for counseling, she never even considered it. Since I have not honestly from her, I have no idea what her plans with this other guy are. In the past few months, I did bring up her cheating, etc., and all she would say is we weren't in a relationship. Like totally not even comprehending what she did. Another example is that she works at a daycare where my son attends. For the past 1.5 years, she never once invited me to any parents-type function or even the daycare has. Now that we are divorced, she is asking me almost daily if I will come to the Halloween party. At the mediation, she became irate and started calling me names there. Then the next day she is wanting to hug me when we exchange our son. I guess many women, probably more so than men, cannot admit they actually did something wrong, especially when it comes to cheating, an affair, and destroying a family. I was shocked when I saw her Facebook and she has 900 photos of herself. As for the hugging, no way. I was just simply repulsed that she would even try this. Also perplexed since I was such a horrible and abusive husband according to her. Another issue is that I moved our family into the Beat School District in the state. She moved 20 minutes away into a bad one to live in an overpriced apartment. And coincidentally, in our big city, she moved to the exact same complex we lived at. The complex we had our son at. Then she was telling me she is always sad due to all of the memories. About the odd situation. He works on oil rigs. Supposedly his job transferred him here. That is what her family told me. However, he works offshore, so most likely will not be around much. So, we had our last mediation. My mood has changed considerably and she probably sensed it. I am ready to move on. She rushed to get into elevator with me and we are alone. She tells me I look good. Asks what I did the previous weekend. I reply with a thank you and more or less just a smile when she starts to guess what I did. She then started telling me I must feel odd taking a new woman to the same places we used to go. I don't have a new woman. I tell her okay. Well, see you Wednesday, when she drops off the kids. She follows me to my car, which is parked in a different direction. She then tells me I can take our son to visit my family anytime. They live out of state. I said thank you. She then breaks down crying, saying she wishes she could go too. She then turns dramatic and says, please find a good mom for our son, and starts crying again. I tell her okay and that I will see her Wednesday. She then tells me I didn't want any of this and moves to hug me, crying again. I probably should not have, but I calmly said, well, you did it. She then tried to hug me again and said she hopes these scars will someday go away. I tell her again I will see her Wednesday and she is still lingering by my car. She starts to tell me stories about our son, a white couch she bought, various random things to keep talking. What does this seem like? What she did is starting to sink in. She feels sorry for me, regret, or just random craziness not to be made any sense of. In my own fantasy I am hoping she regrets it every day. Still thinking of herself, of course. She reminded me of her upcoming birthday 2 months from now. She will turn 40. Once again, she started crying. She also kept asking me to come to my son's Halloween party at the school she works at. Funny how she never invited me to these things while we were married. And yes, maybe she is seeking some validation that in some way she helped all of our lives for the better. I am not sure. Part of me of course wants to think she did love me and made a mistake, regardless of if I would take her back or not, which I would not. She still texts me good morning, and even though I don't reply she continues. And to be honest, that's why I am handling this better than I thought. There is not much I could really do differently. And no, I was not perfect, but nobody is. Neither was she. If we are honest, our wives are far from perfect. but it doesn't mean we leave them or dig up things that happened years ago as an excuse for leaving them. She will forever be a cheater who cheated on her son's father. No matter how she wants to rewrite history, those would be the facts. Made the mistake of engaging with her. It has been 3 weeks since we live separately. I have to see her 3 times a week for the kids and our mediation. I have been doing a good job of not speaking with her, but it still always bothered me that after everything she never admitted to any wrongdoing. So, she was texting me about our son and included "Glad you are happy, I am happy for you." It was one of those down days, and I replied, "Who said I am happy?" Much of the time I am angry about the situation. It bothers me inside that she acts like her cheating had no effect on my life. And she replies with, "Why? I did nothing wrong. We were separated. I had nowhere to go." I guess the above is why you should not engage an ex at all. She takes zero responsibility for cheating, because while cheating she moved to the couch. I was never told we were separated. There was no conversation. But this is her way of justifying her actions. In reality, she lied to me for months about everything. The above type of statements I hear set me back a few days when it comes to healing. Wish I could just block her, but I can't as we have a son. You know, if I did what she did, I would either apologize deeply or want to just disappear after apologizing. However, she keeps wanting me to go to this mandatory divorce class with her for 4 hours. Last week she even suggested she wanted to go across country to visit my family. And they know the story and most likely despise her. It almost seems she really convinced herself that sleeping with another man while being married is not cheating. And some days I am really close to wanting to kick this other guy's ass. Calling him. I never met him. I did talk to him on the phone in August. I noticed this number called about 10 times when my wife returned. He told me, "Oh no, I have a girlfriend. I am just friends with your wife's cousin. I have no interest in her at all. Only a friend I just met that I was worries about. Never would I want anything with her, etc." Then he proceeded to send my wife money for an attorney and her own apartment. With furniture. So now my son is hanging out on this guy's furniture. Now she even states we were separated in March. Even though I remember us happy and together on Mother's Day mid-May. It's like she did one bad thing after another to me, then used my reaction as her justification for why we didn't work out. It was all created by herself. A few months ago, I asked why she wanted a divorce. She said I didn't buy yard lights she wanted. She said 2 years ago I wouldn't buy her a certain gym membership. And of course, she didn't cheat as we weren't in a relationship. That's why she wanted a divorce. It just seems so wrong, almost evil how they twisted to blame us. Especially if you were a man who took excellent care of his family. But then that was even twisted into you didn't want me to work full-time because you were controlling. Yeah, right, I loved paying every single bill myself since we met. It was just me wanting to control you. Like she didn't enjoy going to lunch every day with friends for years. She wanted to work and split bills, but I did not let her. I think there is almost some sort of shift amongst how women view marriage. And I say women because they initiate 70% of the divorces. You see, it isn't about family, a husband being supportive and a good provider. It is also about her happiness, which trumps everything. The problem is many of these women were never happy. They won't be happy. So, they go date, marry, procreate, then still seek happiness elsewhere. And instead of fixing themselves, they slander and berate the men who took care of them and loved them. They ruin the lives of men, their children, and do it all over again. So, my wife dropped my son off for the weekend. There were a few items she requested in the divorce left that I had ready to give her. A microwave, camera, cappuccino machine, etc. I put these outside and was going to carry to her car. What does she do? Pick the heaviest item first and act as if she is really struggling. This always seemed to be her personality. Maybe another thing to say poor me about. I also decided to give back her dad's wedding ring that she gave me a month ago. Not sure why she wanted me to have this, but I have it back. I felt I might have been too much of a jerk, but really had no use for it. So, then what happens? I drop my son off at school and she asks me if she can come make us chicken soup Wednesday. What? I told her no, it isn't appropriate and I don't need it. Not sure what is going on in her head, but when I said that, it seemed to hurt her feelings again. The way she put it to me was, "It will break my heart if you don't accept." And I told her no, really, it is fine. I do not want it. Which led her to texting me later. I should have known better. As this divorce is a few days from being final, I am doing fairly well. But I have a bigger concern. As for a little background, my ex knew that her mom was a narcissist. Her dad was afraid of her mom, and although married for 50 years could never side with the children. My wife even told me she never wanted a daughter because she might do the same to her. My wife knows she was raised and formed by a narcissist. I have been researching narcissism for over a year, and my ex fits every single category to a T. The way she built me up and discarded me, her narcissistic rage, her inability to ever be criticized, putting 1,000 photos of herself on Facebook, her smear campaign of me. I can go on and on to describe the hell I went through. So here is my problem. She is the primary parent for my son. I do not want him to turn out the same. What are my options? I hope that he simply does not. Write her an email offering help and explaining my concerns, and that this is for the sake of my son. Right now, he is only 3. Well, her mom in a way fed her to be a very obese child, so as to not compete with her. My wife then sorts of snapped at the age of 18 and became a workout fanatic. Was in magazines, etc. So yes, her pics were not dirty, but virtually a different headshot every day. And of course, none of me. She already only cares about my son as an extension of her. Nice clothes, she won't potty train him, won't brush his teeth, etc. Right now, I have him 35% of the time, plus half of all vacations, so close to 40%. My thinking was that one day she will twist this around, and that she will claim I left her. She was against this, so she wanted to put we were separated for 8 months and just living together, so we decided to divorce. That's when I lost it. Separated 8 months. We never had any separation talk. Really angered me, she could never admit any wrongdoing. Long story short, we left being angry at each other. Then I dropped my son off at school and she comes to get him. She gets really close to give me a hug and is crying. Then says, "Oh, this is so weird. We can't hug." I just move away a bit and don't say much of anything. Then she tells me she is upset because she saw a romantic movie the night before and reminded her of me. She wants me to see the movie. So I just left and she starts texting me how our son is like me, how she wishes she met my mom. I am not responding. Then she starts to get bossy, telling me to be careful when I have her son, telling me not to lose his things, etc. I never lost anything of his and he never was hurt in my care. I finally texted her to please just text me only regarding our son, and I don't need to hear about her emotions, to which she didn't reply. The way I found out about the affair was when I opened her mail and saw the money transfers in her bank statement. From him to her. She did have money then for an apartment and an attorney, furniture, etc. I have continuously and rudely denied all of her hug approaches, but maybe now it seems to be more of a challenge to her. I have no idea where this guy is. Been doing much better and usually just come here to share and vent. But last night was so pissed all over again. I usually never use any sort of messaging service, but downloaded one. So, after this was downloaded, I clicked to add contacts. My ex-wife photo pops up as she was in my contacts. I had no idea how this even works. And in her profile photo she is with this guy, and he is kissing her neck. Must have been put there months ago as she has a new number since then. Bothered me for several reasons, but mainly wondering why a 39-year-old woman who is cheating with a kid would seemingly not care for others to see what she is doing. Why the need to post that photo like a teenager? I know I just need to move on, but it is still irritating, nonetheless. Feel so much better with letting go. Ignoring her messages. This morning she texted me that she went to church and will pray for all of us. Not sure what that means, but didn't reply. Then a few hours later she texted me telling me not to tell my son to keep secrets from her, as she asked how his weekend was and he replied, "Can't tell. It's a secret." Then she ends the text with, "Sorry for bothering you." Now in the past I would have immediately replied telling her how ridiculous she is for accusing me of that. Today I just didn't reply to anything as I see what she is doing more clearly. Either trying to get a response by being nice or trying to get a response by accusing me of something. Then I am drawn into some illogical and circular argument that just irritates me. The fact, she used our money to fly and see this man twice. Treated me worse and worse. I basically lived an entire year of lies. He ended up sending her tens of thousands for an attorney, apartment, etc. So, she left and has primary custody of my son. I see him about 40% of the time. To make things worse, recently I download WhatsApp, and since she is in my contact list, I see her photo. It is a picture of her and this guy kissing her neck. Didn't even know she used this. So, I have anger towards her, towards this man. She admits the divorce was not my fault, and she just wanted movie love. How do I get over this anger? I ask because of this. I attended the mandatory divorced parents seminar. There was a man outside smoking a cigarette. His ex-wife approached to say she thought he quit smoking. He turned his back with a pissed-off look. Now seeing it from the outside, this seems sad and weak to me. This woman obviously affected him a lot, and it obviously isn't good to be holding anger. But part of me is almost losing interest in my son. I wish the worst for her. My son lives in a home this guy furnished while we were married. Soon she will be driving a car he bought. Soon he will be living with another man more than he sees me. And by losing interest I mean, as an example, she has him for this Thanksgiving. But for weeks she has been dropping hints that I can have him this entire week. Obviously, she wants to be with her lover. While I miss my son, I also do not want to be me babysitter making her life easier. I also need to work and pay bills. This also all cost me tens of thousands. Someone else paid for her so she has no cares. But when I see her, and I had to for 4 times a week usually, she starts crying. After he divorced class saying she needs me. Or other times she is all happy and friendly like nothing happened. Almost pisses me off more. So how have some of you moved on, and were still a good father? Let go of the hate and lived your own life without so much resentment. It is all still raw, but sometimes feel totally taken advantage of by the system as well. At the temporary hearing she lied about everything. Basically, said I work until 8 everything and she takes care of the kid 100% of the time, so I was handed every other weekend, and have to pay alimony and child support. As soon as we arrived home, she takes out a calendar to see which days I want. So, I went from 23% of the time to about 33%. Then we went to mediation and I ended up with about 40%. It has only been a month, and she has this manipulative way of asking me if I want more time with him, always prefaced with "I am just being nice," so I was wondering. Basically, she wants alone time but won't admit it. Part of me also wants her to feel what it is like to be a single mom. It's what she wanted. Maybe that is vindictive, and possibly even unfair to my son. However, I never missed a visitation, pick up or drop off, and won't. Maybe others went through this as well. At the end of the day, at least for now, she ended up with some perfect life. Work 4 hours a day, 2 men saying all the bills, expensive apartment in the city, new love interest, and built-in babysitter. That pisses me off too, but need to get over it. A month later, I think she's making up things now. I am a victim of this, and it seems to be fairly common in almost every single divorce I have seen initiated by women. Now, when I was young, I thought abuse meant coming home and yelling and screaming for no reason, throwing your wife around, hitting her, etc. But now it seems to have morphed into a powerful tool to diminish and weaken men in all ways possible. I can see why women will claim abuse falsely. If they are breaking up a family, leaving, and cheating, then it will automatically take the blame off of her. No woman wants to accept that responsibility. How often do we hear women say, "Well, I am divorced because I chose to cheat on my husband who was a great guy"? Probably very rarely. My wife actually went to an abused women's meeting per her lawyer's instructions. They gave her a pamphlet that details what is abuse. Basically, if you do not like some of your wife's friends, that is controlling and abusive. If you do not allow her to spend money anyway she pleases, that is financial abuse. If you repeatedly ask for bonding, or act sad for not getting it, that is a form of ex-abuse. In other words, almost every action or dispute is now abusive. Does anyone else notice this trend? I almost have a hard time keeping a straight face over time I hear a woman tell me how her ex-husband was such an abuser. And lastly, we usually say women marry a man hoping to change him, and men marry a woman hoping she stays the same. So why did these women knowingly marry this horrible abuser? Did the man change overnight? I am speaking of women who file for divorce, not all wives. It seems abuse has become a term that is very overused, and it is a one-way street. A woman wants a divorce because she thinks the grass is greener. How many of these women admit that? Do these women tell friends and family, "Well, I was thinking the grass would be greener with someone else, so I cheated and got a divorce"? Or are we saying women never file for divorce because they think the grass is greener? She was rewriting history. I do not know what she told her friends. It was more or less, "I am controlling. She isn't happy. I changed. I called her names. She started cheating. So then I was abusive." It made her look like someone who just needed a way out. She got sympathy instead of being looked at as a cheater. And as I said, I meet many people through my business. And many have went through the same thing I did. And almost always once their wife wanted a divorce, they found out they were cheating. And they also were now all of a sudden abusive. Is there anything worse a woman can be looked at than a cheater who broke up a family? I think this is why they write history. My attorney told me so many women claim some sort of abuse in a divorce that these days it means nothing. But to others it definitely makes the husband look bad and is used as a term for control. An example could be when I dropped my son off at his school where she works. I sensed the female teachers were very uneasy around me. The owner of the school did tell me she had my wife stop the drama and stop the bad-mouthing of me, as people were almost sick of hearing it. I had her friends, couples we knew, later tell me horrible stories she would tell them about me that were not based in reality. Another couple we were around would not even look at me during a birthday party we attended. The wife in this couple, who I barely knew, wrote a detailed affidavit for court for her, detailing many complete lies about me and how bad I am. Now, if this was just me, I would chalk it up to a crazy individual. But I just see a trend on here and amongst my friends with cheating wives, in which the man is all of a sudden mean, abusive, and controlling once the wife started to have an affair. And before we say, men do this too, I really don't think so. I think men who cheat typically are more accountable for their actions. Men wouldn't even be proud to state they are afraid of their wife. I think at the end of the day, sadly, if it keeps progressing, men and women should simply not cohabitate or marry. Perhaps this is what the government likes best, the breakdown of the family, which leads to the need for the government to grow more and more, better for banks and corporations as well. I have no idea. All I know is that it is scary to actually have everything ripped away from you with no proof or evidence, and a system that encourages it. And a small story too, to balance things out from the other side. D-Day was 5 months ago. Husband moved in with 2 months ago. Over these past few months, he has been exceptionally nasty and cruel to me. We run a business together, so that has been really difficult to deal with also. For months I tried to hold on to the belief that he was going through some sort of crisis, that the affair would end soon, that he would revert to the man I loved and would want to come back. But as time went by, I realized I was slowly falling out of love with him. Eventually I lost all respect for him too. Unbeknownst to him, Theo and I have been in contact by text message recently. She is a very childlike and naive woman. Her texts revealed the depth of her doubts and insecurities about the relationship, and I'm amazed they haven't broken up yet, but it seems almost certain to happen before too long. The thing is, I've recently met a man through one of my hobbies. The moment he walked in, I felt this very powerful attraction to him that nearly knocked me off my feet. The more I get to know him, the more attracted I am. I think about him constantly and I want him to ask me out. He has pushed all thoughts of holding on to my marriage out of my head. Do I need to be concerned that this is some sort of hysterical rebound reaction, or is this just a genuine attraction that I should pursue? I'd love to hear from any other BS who had a similar attraction to a new person a short time after being betrayed or left. Did it last? I think this guy has gone through a difficult divorce and I really don't want to hurt him by dating him if I'm not as ready for it as I think I am. Also, I suspect that once my husband hears that I'm dating somebody else, he might feel differently about everything. I really don't know how I would react if my husband started to pursue me again. All I know is that right now I want the other guy. I don't feel that I need or want my ex to be jealous. It's just that I know him well enough to think that he probably will be, especially if his own relationship has broken down. I don't necessarily think he will act on this jealousy, but I admit I've only properly detached from him quite recently, so if I'm honest, I can't say with any degree of certainty what I would do if he wanted me back. I don't really think he is capable of the change and personal growth required for me to be able to trust him and believe in a future with him again, so even if he pursued me, I doubt it would be enough to win me over. We were together for 24 years, married for 20 and have 2 adult sons. The younger one lives with me in the family home. Divorce takes a long time in my country, so nothing will be completely final with him for several years. I haven't yet begun formal separation proceedings, but I feel ready to tackle it now. I do believe this new guy could be Mr. Right rather than just Mr. Right now because his outlook on life is similar to mine, and I think I'll be able to connect with him on a deeper level than I ever could with my ex-husband. I think I do need to start the separation proceedings for my own sake. I'm getting completely carried away with this because my attraction to him is so strong. I do feel indifferent at this point about the marriage. What I'm unsure about is whether that indifference would remain consistent even if circumstances change for me or for my ex. I'm still keen for my ex and is a fair partner to split up, but I think that's just my spiteful side and not because I particularly want him back. The strange thing is that once I actually decided to let go, all I experienced was relief and a sense of peace. I was expecting grief, but I didn't realize that I'd already been grieving the marriage, possibly even before the affair happened. It's good to know that while many of you are advising I proceed with caution, you're not all saying I should outright avoid dating this new man. I agree that I do have to be mindful that he will have his own baggage too. That's an excellent point. I will see him again in 2 days, and I have a plan to give him my number in a subtle way. Then, hopefully he will call and we can take it slowly from there. I think my attraction to the new man is largely based on how he differs from my ex. I'm possibly trying to fill a void that existed throughout my marriage. You guys think despite that I will still end up trying to replicate marital patterns? My comment, what do you guys think of the 2 OP? OP number 1 got the confirmation but fought a losing battle. And is it alright for OP #2 to meet new people? Or is it too early? Subscribe and tell me what you think about the ending.